All right, here we go again. Buckle up. Try to smooth out those rough roads. Now, a word to the wise asses. Are beginning to project again. You know why I'm receiving it? Because I haven't cursed you down real good for a while. So you're feeling froggy, but it's based upon me not cursing you. And you've now moved up too high. So I'll give you a little bit of time to send your messages to one another instead of sitting around online laughing, defining how you're going to curse me all day in small talk and derogatory talk. But in the near future, you may suffer additional tragedy. Just letting you know. You feel froggy because you haven't been cursed real good. So if that's a necessity, then I'm sure God will meet that necessity. So again, I realize when we're looking at immigration and irregular immigration, undocumented, illegal immigration, whatever you want to call it, I realize it sucks in their nation. I realize the mechanism of it doesn't suck for many of them here in this nation when it sucked in their other nation. I realize that. But again, it's a crapshoot. And actually, the larger it becomes, the less likely for quality of life, assimilation, acceptance by the U.S. community. So again, these are things that we have to look at. Their quality of life is actually slipping. Also. Again, President Trump didn't run on the fact that immigrants were having a bad day. So, it's just the reality. Right? There's another side to it that we can't protect them. We can't give them the opportunity we want to give them. Again, because we could allow a certain number of amnesty people if this thing was kept in check the entire time. And we could be more selective. We would be a little more selective about who we let in, that kind of thing. But we could still let amnesty cases in. But another thing it doesn't allow us to do is to have the money, because we don't have the money. President Trump's like, we got to trim the budget. No foreign country gets money, and of course we can't do that. But as we buy things that are valuable through foreign aid. But if this thing was kept in check, we could invest more of that money in their nation. Instead, we're spending it here on programs that are unaccountable, absolutely unaccountable. You got embezzlement, you got fraud, you got immigrants giving fake names going left and right throughout the United States, riding buses and everything else. Again, it's not a life that I would want, but it doesn't mean that, it should exist. And again, how does a Trent Arega person, or Yega, whatever it is, get from Colorado to Ohio on a bus that we pay for? Right. Unless they've got some vehicles and stuff, which they could. Again, it's how they build up. So again, to take something that's out of control, bring it into control, and then, opportunity exists for other things. So again, it's getting a little crazy. There's some increased numbers they're wanting, and that's okay. Somebody did a calculation, I'm sure, and figured out that they needed to increase the number of migrants that are being arrested every day. And that happens. But what might happen in that, there's going to be a little bit more. Again, it's not going to be an absolute roundup. They're still going to try to focus it, but some people will probably, when you increase the numbers like that, there's going to be other people other than criminal migrants. They're going to get caught up in it. They're going to be there. And again, that happened the other way, but again, the numbers increase. If you arrest 50 people and there's 2 people around each one of those 50 people, or several of those 50 people, again, let's say 1/4 of the 50 people that are criminals that they arrest have 2 other migrants around them that aren't considered criminals at this point. If you take that 1/4 and you multiply it by 1,000, you can see there's going to be a lot more other migrants arrested. Just the nature of that business. I'm just trying to explain, like I explained how restraints work. And somebody may have explained to the president of Colombia that they would have to transport them like that because you can't let them, because you never know who anybody is or how they're going to react to deportation. It's a very stressful thing. Again, that's where the psychology comes in. We're looking at fixing their psychology to say, look, it's not worth the gamble. In fact, in the first Trump administration, we did it, and I think Jared was part of it. We were investing in Central America, just to provide incentive. Right. Microloans is something they use. The Mexican government uses it. A lot of people use it. Now, again, theirs has DEI attached to it. It's mostly women. Right. Well, and again, that's their problem. That you have a lot of unwed mothers and things like that, or mothers, widows, and things like that. So. Well, I looked at Hegseth's page for a second. I'm thinking, what is he getting at? And when I'm thinking about the Tuskegee Airmen being taught he's not ruling it out being taught in history class. Because I was like, wait a minute, isn't that too far? And then he's talking about in Air Force class. Oh, okay. Right. He doesn't want that being taught in a military setting because it doesn't need to be. And of course, he's not speaking about teaching about Robert E. Lee or something in place of that. So he's not going that far, in the other direction either. So it's just focusing the training on military training versus some sort of thing that can be considered like affirmative action is what we used to call it, and they got away with it. Again, the idea is you still have to investigate discrimination. That they're not speaking about not looking at discrimination. Right. In reality, you'll probably have more discrimination cases without DEI than you would with DEI. Well, it's kind of an artificial because you're not really ending discrimination. You're just covering it over. And again, of course, then like the big thing was that black people couldn't discriminate. I mean, that's BS. Right. I'm not a fan of discrimination. I'm not a fan of affirmative action. Well, because the time and place for that was long ago. But what you do is you apply the given laws and the given rules, and it's just strange because I didn't fit into an affirmative action category. Maybe I did. I was Jewish. I could have said something about that, but because I didn't plainly fit into an affirmative action category, I couldn't sue the Marshal Service. It just didn't exist. You couldn't make it back then. You couldn't make it. Now I probably could make an argument. But if I was a black person, I'd have been wealthy, very wealthy. Or even a woman. If you go back through that time period and look at the cases, it's all women and black people. That's who sued the Marshal Service, got money. Just the way the government was wired back then. And again, I thought my retirement was going to be golden and I'd move off and have a normal life. Again, I thought some of it was normal life, and it turned out to be bait. Again, they're doing stuff to my head. So these people that are in the police department, because there was a police officer and a police woman, a man and a woman, a young man and a young woman, and they were part of it with that woman, Jen. They were psyoping me somehow. I wasn't sure exactly what they were doing, but I mean, it was affecting my head to a certain degree. Thank you, Larry. I don't know, the sheriff's department or the police department, one or the other. In fact, I went to an Asian store, and the cop shows up. He just looks at me. I'm like, what? Really? This young kid guy, like a rookie. Or, for all I know, he's an FBI agent playing some game. Right. Where's that uniform shows up? There's a ton of them. You know, the actual normal membership of the gyms I attended were probably like a very low percentage. Very low percentage. So they manipulate communities to put certain people in and take other people out. So again, the psychological operation we engage in will be non-harming, and it will work. Because if you're not engaged in a psychological operation, then even if you engage in a psychological operation, even when you're put out, it still alters the mindset around it. So let's say they put you out and they put the Democrats back in. You still have a greater effect if you engage in the psychological operations. Agreed, sir. Right. And again, civil affairs isn't just the stick. There's carrot in there. Like what incentive do they have to stay where they are? And again, I think there's just the basic crapshoot gambling aspect of it is enough to say it's better to stay put. Well, but what happened is, because we spent all this money here on these programs of defending the border and taking care of these people once they get through, we don't have enough money to help them in their homelands. And that's one of our issues. So my package hasn't gotten here yet. I'm waiting on a letter I think it's coming. It's from a bank that's going to ask me to call them. And when I call them, they'll say, okay, we verified your address, and they'll send me a new credit card. That's a bonus. Like I'm coming out of something. So like in the next few months, I'll start getting small bank bonuses. But I still don't have my new 0% credit card, which is, I'm kind of shy of that. Not sure where to get one that works. I mean, I have a 0%, and it's good for like another year, but it's not attached to reward points, which makes it kind of. And the one I want, I can't get. So, well, because I've had it. I thought it was a long time ago I had it, but I must have applied for one more recently. I think it's like you can get one every 4 years. Because you can't get the 0% welcome bonus if you've had it recently. Now, one thing I didn't know, American Express, you can't get them at all. You get them once and that's it. The Hilton, I can get the Hilton card. I know I think I was approved for it even, or I have this great chance of getting it. But it's weird how their points work. I don't completely understand it. And there's a chance that it won't pay off even in the end. Well, they hold the rights to modify anything. It's kind of a private card. I mean, they say the trade-in value for the points on the bonus is up to $360, and maybe that's if you go directly to a hotel and get a room or something. I don't know. I think you get to buy stuff on Amazon or something. It's just, I like to straight up just the credit on the statement. So thank God my thumb's coming along without taking any more Advil. It's even better than it was when it first started yesterday. But boy, last night did it ache. It's still a little cool outside. I'm hoping it warms up. So these psychological operations will help alter their mindset, because the cartel is putting them into a dream that doesn't exist for everybody. A lot of people have been killed, raped, put into bondage. I mean, it's not easy being psychic. And again, a lot of you aren't willing to understand that because you want to pretend that I'm the criminal. So I connect to a lot of different things, especially things that I view online. And it's not easy being connected to that stuff. Because I know there are young women right now that are in a horror house and may spend the rest of their life there until the other immigrant kills them. Right. And, I'm not someplace where I can really, like, in other words, they keep me off balance, and I can't really do as much work. Again, haven't been able to do the healing thing for the horror houses. I can't get to it. Again, maybe Hashem is blocking it. I don't know. If I get to a normal life, I can do much more work, and they know that. So again, your best bet is to pay me, and I can do a lot more work than I'm doing right now. That's why I could do more before, because I was in a little bit more life. But again, it wasn't because they were letting me be. What they do is, oh, you messed up now. Before we let you do that, no, they didn't let me do it. They were killing my life back then, but I was much younger and had less years. They had less years to do it, and less reach. So I definitely need to move on from where I am, and I definitely need my money. Well, again, play your games all you like, but there'll be hell to pay for it. You know, there was an earthquake here recently, someplace they usually don't have them. That's what you need to look for when thinking about God. And God warning all of you. Because God has to do it like that, because you all tell yourselves it's just normal happening. Let me see, where was that earthquake? So that's actually what I had in my mind before I saw the one in Idaho. I said, oh no, they're going to think it's about the liberals, and all the Republicans are going to, you know, kind of gloat over that. And then I saw the one in Idaho. I said, oh, Hashem already got that covered. There's one in Idaho. So I'm waiting on a package and a piece of mail. Don't know if the mail will get here today. The package is supposed to be here by 12 today. Somebody juked that around, I'm sure. Again, it's not so warm, or not as warm as I thought it would be. So I'm not like, oh, I got to go and, get something done today. I wait till tomorrow. I know I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, but that's only for about an hour. I got to get to a podiatrist and have him look at my feet. And what I think he's going to do is probably give me a little bit stiffer inserts. The ones I have are special inserts, but I don't think they're special enough. And maybe he'll give me some shoes. I don't know. One of the weirdest things I ran into recently is I told you I went to CVS, and they wouldn't fill my COVID test order, saying that nobody pays for them anymore. Well, if you're in the federal employee program, insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, they're paying for them. But I went to CVS, and the funny thing, I'll go through it first. So they wouldn't honor it. So I go online and I try to figure out, well, who is paying for this? What part of my insurance pays for this? And it makes sense, because FEP, the government people are, law enforcement officers are out there, federal law enforcement. So they probably argue that, we need to, the contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield needs to include COVID tests, because we need them. We're out in the public so much and interacting and all that. Right. So I go online, and when I'm looking at it, say, go to CVS and get them. I'm like, what? That was a place that wouldn't do it for me. They actually told me to order them from CVS. Now the dude's like, nobody's paying for them anymore, and my boss won't, pharmacist won't let us do it. That's kind of crazy. Again, I pay a good amount for that insurance. Sometimes I never use it. Right. There's been years where I don't even use it at all, when I was healthier and all that. I mean, they really worked my head over, so it was very hard to get through to healthcare and stuff like that. They always made it a bad situation if they could. Again, it's spycraft, but it's criminal spycraft. They're operating criminally for criminal enterprise, for self gain, for criminal gain. So we need to move those elements to the border, military intelligence, so they can do their studies and figure out. Again, they can also mix or have you all mix, the border patrol and all that with those people and say certain things. Again, we're not looking to brainwash them. We're not looking to harm them, but we're looking for them to understand that, and I think we did pick up a psychological program before on this. That this is not the thing to do. It's not all that it's cracked up to be. So again, when it gets beyond a certain point, it encourages it too much. And then we have all these other problems that come along with it. Well, the Democrats, when you did abuse the program, you caused a knee-jerk reaction from the other side. Again, when you get into excesses and all that. Again, they wouldn't care if you did it on a small scale. But again, the replacement theory is something that I was probably the first person to bring up. I don't know. I guess everybody thinks it's Elon. Elon stole my persona, except for I'm not the Nazi salute dude. Right. I was the first person to say mind virus. Right. I was the first one to say all these things about the replacement theory. I was the first one to say that. And I said the deep state's doing that because we won't commit the deep state crimes. But an immigrant will do anything to get in here and get a green card or something like that. And they'll. So I said it back in Santa Fe at least. Right. That's what I was saying was going on there. They're replacing all the Americans with these immigrants that would do anything for the federal agent, for the cop. Right. I mean, if Elon was complicit in what was being done in my life, then he's a lunatic because he's using my stuff. But I don't know if he is. I don't have that much intelligence capability, to reach out and have somebody investigate it. I'm sure there's techies involved and billionaires and millionaires involved, but again, which ones and who and how. Well, because essentially he would have killed me and took my persona. I mean, that's bizarre. It's, psychopath shit. Some say it's not only him. There's federal agents made money and all sorts of shit off of my stuff, is what they say. So again, we're moving forward. Hopefully we have a nice spring. Hopefully we have an early spring. But we need to put military intelligence on notice. CIA is simple. Ratcliffe can figure that out with those people. Yeah, I don't know what Tulsi would do, right? What kind of damage she would do. Again, remember, people were in those positions and they were deep stating. I mean, they were attacking my life and allowing the attacks into my life. When all I was trying to do was find a wife and go to church, really, or whatever religion I could find. I mean, really. So again, how much more damage could she do? So that's my point about just putting them in. And, if you have trouble with them later, then you deal with it then. You could always impeach them. And of course, you don't have the numbers, but maybe you could, again, the second 2 years is a bitch if you don't do the right thing in the first 2 years. Making sure. They're projecting. They're going to get it. Well, I mean, Elon could be financing somebody to attack me. Wouldn't even notice the money missing. He could even pay $1 million and laugh about it. Why would he do it? Well, psychopath. Why would my coworkers do it? They're psychopaths. I was their slave. I was working. I wasn't getting it. It wasn't like I was the chief's favorite or the marshal's favorite. I mean, I was their favorite person to go to do work, but I didn't get anything for it. So there's no reason for my coworkers to have done anything to me. I was essentially their slave. I mean, to a certain degree. I mean, I enjoyed working, so I wouldn't say I was completely a slave. That's when a scam from the deep state. Why would I do that? Maybe use that two ways. Like, I didn't do it because why would I do it? There's no reason for me to do it. Of course, they're just psychopathic, money-grubbing pieces of shit, criminals. So, of course, there's your reason. But why would you do that? What did he do for us to do this? Well, that's why I bring up the kind of life sex offenders live, the kind of life child molesters live, because that's what they try to infer. But they're living great lives, so don't let them tell you the other bullshit. Now, you may have one or two people that fit that description in what they're doing, because that's part of the scam. Again, being numbered with the transgressors. So I'm hoping FedEx gets here soon. Nah, it was an overnight. It's supposed to be here in the morning. And the overnight was like from last week. It's actually supposed to be here Saturday. But they changed it to weekday delivery only. So it wouldn't be delivered on Saturday. I did read that if you're on a diuretic, aspirin would not be a suitable pain reliever. That kind of worked out okay. I was getting ready to order it again this morning. But I do praise God for my thumb getting better. I prayed last night. I said, well, I don't necessarily pray. I speak to God. I said, I hope, God, that my thumb's better in the morning. Eating one of my chimichangas. I can't buy them because I'll just run through them, keep eating them. Because these have jalapeno in them, and I love jalapeno. Yeah. So the thing wants me to help you understand that the arguments from these deep state type people, from these criminal minds running these racketeering organizations, they want to destroy somebody if they run in. They do a study on the target audience. Again, it's spycraft. And if the target audience is conservative, they make a conservative argument and label the person liberal, and vice versa. So now they're using a liberal argument against me. But same people. Again, don't believe them. They're not conservative. They're not church people, really. They're playing a game, and I think you know what that means. I think they're moving forward with the trans ban. I don't know if it's going to fly this time. It's the same. They're going to use the same argument, and the court may actually bring it up. Right. They use the same argument as DACA. It's going to be the same people, probably anyway. Same lawyers. Right. or similar. Well, the fact is that, again, they said with DACA that you had this program and you said, okay, you're going to stay. Again, they don't say it's Obama and Trump. They don't draw a delineation because it's the U.S. government. The politics don't fly in the Supreme Court as far as saying, well, it's a different U.S. government. So what you did is you said, okay, no more trans people. They were all put out on medical or whatever it was. I think that was a pretty good deal, though. You get a medical retirement, and then you can go on and do whatever you want. Right. Actually, I thought that up. See, I give back. But what happened subsequent to that is Biden got in there and said, oh, you can, for 4 years, said, yeah, you can be in the military. So again, these people are living their life based upon what the government says they can live. So now you're going to say, no, you have to get out because we don't allow it. So it's not going to be easy this time. Well, because your standard key, it's kind of like what's called whim and whimsy. You just keep, yeah, you're in, yeah, you're out. And then you can tell them it's a political reason, but that's not admissible. That's not standing. That's not, it's not really anything other than proving what the court says or what the other person says. I think under the DACA thing, the court actually adopted that argument and explained it even further. Well, I'm just telling you, I don't know if they're going to allow, because what could easily happen is in 4 years from now, a Democrat could be in there very easily. But the way the world's going. Well, give me a second. I'm going to break here. Actually, we'll look at a video if I have one.
שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהי.
All right, back again. Well, they might tell you those that are in there have to be allowed to stay, and you can make a law if you can get it passed, a real law where it's not going to change so easy. And then anybody new you could maybe keep out, but I don't know. I'd be surprised. I'd just be surprised if they allow you to ban the trans people this time without some sort of condition. But again, we have a lot of people to take care of in this nation. And we have some great focus as far as reducing what they call irregular immigration, undocumented immigration, illegal immigration. Everybody has a term for it. Found out my neighbor was from Florida. She grew up she lived 40 years in Tampa. That was interesting. We had and my brother's in Florida. It's kind of everything's revolving around Florida. Is DeSantis thinking about me? Is Fidley here? Fidley, you here? Something Florida's coming up. FDLE, I call it Fidley. See, what they're afraid of is what Bondi might learn about what they were doing when she was Attorney General. So they're a deep state. FDLE had a secret deep state thing going on, and it involved the Highway Patrol. They all thought it was funny, man. They feel so powerful when they're in corruption like that, like with impunity. So we know Bondi's a no-brainer. Put her in real quick. I don't think we're getting anybody better. I'm actually glad to see her. Now, the rest of you are just idiots. We got work to do. Already overtime. I was pretty damaged in the Marshal Service and then being drugged heavily several times after that. Right. I wasn't like, what is that? What did I say the place was? What's that place? Omaha. Omaha was a serious drugging. It wasn't like I wasn't drugged before that. I was continually being drugged and they were trying to take me down and they couldn't. That's why I was in Omaha. I was trying to get away from them. It wasn't your trip. Like you could say I'm a manic depressant or something. It wasn't the manic episode. Not at all. They're trying to do me. Again, when you're drugged, how do you try to think your way through it? Again, if I had no military experience, I probably wouldn't have survived. So again, I did pretty good considering what they were doing to me. No, I was drugged. Believe me, I didn't go on any medication or anything. But they keep doing it. And it's very difficult to stay well, Again, if I have a better life, they know I'll be weller. Like if I get my money, I go get into a nice place to live, maybe find somebody to be with, my life would be much better. Again, they isolated me. I've lived in isolation for quite a while. And if I actually ever meet anybody, they're not going to stay around. Because they're going to manipulate them with the deep state thing. Well, I don't know how much damage Tulsi could. I mean, really, do you think Tulsi could do more damage than Clapper? You think Tulsi could do more damage than Clapper? You really believe that? Let's put it in perspective instead of just making these accusations. And then we can put Kash Patel, Comey, Mueller. I think Mueller is the father of the big deep state move, quite possibly. It was already moving, but I think Mueller enlarged it, which means he was probably compromised. And to stay where he was, he's sending money off to Comey and stuff. I mean, he wants that stuff on the, hushed up. So he does what the thing tells him, or what the group of whatever is telling him. Right. He just, the part about attacking Trump's enemies, it's a never-ending cycle. So again, you have to investigate certain levels of corruption. And if those people come up, because as soon as you start investigating, if somebody snitches on you, I hate using that term, but that's what you could be under charges rather quickly because they do have certain people have protection. Trump didn't remove all the protections he thinks he did with an executive order. I don't even know if he can. Yeah, and some people can't be fired. You can fire the inspector generals, but you can't fire the guy I told you about, the guy that oversees, employee rights and all that stuff. You can't. I mean, we just can't. He's independent of the government, independent agency. That's for a reason, obviously. So in reference, because it's almost like a trap. In reference to employee rights and all this, employee retaliation, there's only like one special counsel that's permanent, and you're like in that zone where that person could charge you with a crime, and even like sue you for the employee, and then they get $1 million and their job back. So it's kind of strange because you could do a lot, but this one area is very sensitive. In fact, think about it. Let's say it was a drug dealer, and they go and they retaliate. It's just something that can't happen. So the best thing is to step away from it and just investigate the way I told you to investigate. If they come up within those investigations, again, remember, you're talking about investigating people. And that's the thing we argued about so many years. You're not supposed to investigate people, you investigate crimes. So you're kind of reneging and coming against yourself because for so many years you said that. Now you're going to reverse it because you're in the office and you want to do it. Again, Trump did this shit to Biden too. He just didn't get it to fruition. Right. So again, we probably need to let that go because we got so much work to do. Right. Just focus on the work. That's what I would do. Again, did we get to Russia? Did we talk to Putin? Again, if you obsess in the wrong direction, then nothing happens. Again, I have no idea whether anybody hears me because you need to get this thing moving. I'm not kidding. Well, maybe okay. I guess you wanted to go. And it's understandable. He has a powwow at. It just came up in my head. I just remembered. He's got a powwow in Florida, and probably after that, I imagine he'll do something. Well, it's an operational. Again, people at that level of government have these kind of conferences. And again, it's very important for him to have this at this time period because he's just assumed the office. He's did a few things, and they can strategize a little bit. But I'd be doing 3-way calls with Zelensky and Putin, like Zoom or whatever your equivalent is in the government, like secure communication. And then I'd say, okay, and then you have to decide if you're going to do the announcement on Zoom or actually go over there or go to some other third nation. Well, I feel like, Putin's KGB, but I think he's had an epiphany. Right. Something was leading him in the wrong direction. And I'm not saying Zelensky did. Now, Zelensky looks like he did also. Again, it's not only Putin. He's got, Lavrov and other people around him. We don't even probably know a few of them. We'll never see them. We'll never see them with Putin. No, we don't see all. I'm sure we don't see all of Putin's advisors. Well, again, there's a push for it to end from a lot of different. It's not just North Korea. It's a push from the Ukrainians, a push from the Russian people. It was what it was. Again, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, are you saying that Russia did the wrong thing? Are you saying Putin did the wrong thing? No, I'm not even going to go there. That's not part of where we are, because we're all going to do the right thing, right? So let's blot that out, and we're going to make something new. That almost sounds scriptural, doesn't it? So again, all those years I was trying to get Putin above where they were putting him. So we wouldn't, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like when it comes to what's the outcome that I'm trying to change or stop. Again, I had no idea October 7th would happen, but I was begging Israel government to move forward. I said the world depends on it. The future depends on it. Bring peace now, bring back Omar, give him a chance to do that. And I was saying with Putin, Putin needs to repent, and we wanted Putin to repent. And well, if something would have happened, anything. And again, I asked the United Nations, please reach out to the Russians, please show some respect and honor the fact. And I told them, I got to the point, I think it was in an audio production or something. I said, I know for a fact that ethnic Russians are being discriminated against in Ukraine. I know for a fact, and I explained it further. I know my history with European-based culture, and then the history of European-based culture against Jews and other people. No, my grandmother, Bubby, she was sitting on a step, and she was hating on black people. I don't think there was any black people around, but she used Yiddish. For some reason, I knew what she said. I guess years later, I figured it out. I remember what she said, and I was just shocked. But again, people are discriminatory, And then, of course, my stepfather used to call me Tsigan, which means gypsy, so he hated gypsies. So he called me that. My whole life, I wish I was with a gypsy woman. I'd have taken a gypsy woman. Which meant God knows God raised me to be multicultural. Again, it's not a bad thing to be. You don't have to just be with white people all day. Not that I mixed with much of anybody, but God had me so I could accept, and it showed me that. They go, I don't know if it was God or the angels or both. And a woman, it was a woman that was like from Bhutan or something. It wasn't like, I don't know if it was a photo. Was it a real woman? I can't remember what it was. But again, for a second, God showed me what a white guy sees when he looks at the woman from Bhutan. He'll look at her nose, look at this, look at that. I'm thinking, what? So God showed me that I accept almost any woman within reason, Right. Again, my afterlife is great, but I lived a human life here. Why didn't you let it happen? You're fucking nobodies. You're really fucking nobodies. And you'll find out in hell, in real hell. And maybe I was the only one that could actually live through it to get to the other side of it, so that God could judge it, and I could explain it to the world. You're nobodies. You'll find out in hell. It's not supposed. The plan is not to be is supposed to be not so twisted, so that we have to bring that on, where they find out in hell instead of finding out here. There's supposed to be a system here where they find out here. And again, it's not an excuse. You all brought about the system where you don't find out here. You overthrew anything that could at least make you uncomfortable in what you were doing to me. And face it, you're looking for health problems, psychological problems. Who the hell do you think you all are? You'll find out in hell, all of you. You'll find out in hell, every last one of you. And I'm saying real hell. I tried to change you all those years. Blessed your children, blessed you. And you try to make up stories of what I'm doing, as if I'm not blessing you and blessing your children, when you see the results of it. If somebody wants to pay you $1 million to do that. Anytime you're ready to take my life back up where it's supposed to be, I'll let you know. Again, remember last time, Trump was having a great administration, and then COVID came, and it all went to hell. God can repeat that, and it doesn't have to be a disease, but it could be a disease. It could be twice as bad as COVID. Not here to play games. Drop dead date has come and gone a decade ago. But God keeps count. Idaho, New England. They could have my life up in a day. I don't believe them that they can't give me money, and somebody even told them they once gave me money. It's all a lie. They pay felons money. I mean, real felons, not Trump felons. Violent felons. In fact, they paid violent felons to do me. So here we are at 222. And my mail's still not here. My before 12 o'clock p.m. mail is not here, or package. I don't think the mail's going to come today. I think it's going to come tomorrow. They just put it in my informed delivery so they can mess with me on a day that they caused my phone to come late. In fact, it was probably supposed to be here Saturday, because that's what I read on the page of the person that's, or the group, the organization that sold it to me. So if you want it to come on Saturday, there was plenty of time for it to come on Saturday, choose express shipping. Choose express shipping. Next thing I know, it says deliver on a weekday. I know they did that. And then it says it'll be here by noon. And what do you think they do? Now it's a chilly day. I don't have to really go anywhere. Tomorrow's much nicer day, but wow, it is a cold breeze. I spoke to that lady from Florida about it. Definitely a cold breeze. So the Philadelphia Eagles and Kansas City Chiefs are going to be in the Super Bowl or whatever it is. I don't really give a shit about these earthbound pieces of garbage that people make millions of dollars off of and have sex with prostitutes over. That's really what it is. I'll down everything on this planet till the day I go, man. Unless you want to take care of my life. That's how they do it to me. Well, I know nothing's going on, busting my ass in the government. They're down on me instead of giving me my ups. If I knew anything, I'd have been out of there like Cassell's. Tom Cassell's knew to leave. Because he was awake. I imagine they did something similar to him. And he had the wherewithal to leave. I did. Well, actually, he didn't live in a big place. Right? And I think his wife had stopped working because they had kids. Right. In fact, I remember one day, FBI, he said, he came into work and said FBI just raided the, I guess the rental unit or the apartment, like, you know, down the street from him, just like, you know, 10 houses or something. So So he wasn't living in the greatest place, the greatest location. Now, these people are psychos, man. They need to be restricted. They can't have access to anyone. They'll just start it all over again. The little scam of making millions of dollars for nothing. Or actually $1 million for crime. So that's what the deep state is, and that's what you got to look for. If you go after Jack Smith, it could just end up with Trump having egg on his face. Then you can't. You actually can't legally go after Jack Smith. You can go after crimes, and if Jack Smith fits into that crime somehow, no, I mean, I have to tell you this because you're all in a fantasy land. It was a lawful prosecution. So if you do certain things, it could mess everything up, including his defense is the lawful prosecution. Well, there's the people behind the scenes that are pulling the strings. That's who you have to find, and I guarantee some work at Langley. Or used to work at Langley. You may have taken their protection details away. But again, they probably have active people that are part of it too. Some might work at Quantico. Or somewhere else in that agency. It's like having a side job, a corrupt side job. That's really what it is. The deep state is a corrupt side job. Now, most people that are part of it can't really do their job that well. That's why our nation suffers. I mean, we spend all this money and it goes nowhere, and of course, they embezzle a ton of it. Well, in reality, if you look at it, Trump did things that got himself in trouble. As far as, again, before all that, in the first administration, again, part of it is his people attacking me and allowing me to be attacked. Again, they probably got paid for it, I'm sure of it. Look at Larry. Again, that's not the only thing. So what happens is the system begins to rule him. So he got ruled. Like I told you, he wasn't going to get arrested. But I had to do some things. If I supported Trump, I don't think he'd be president right now. Because they're trying to strategize me to be attacked and not paid. I mean, that's how deep this whole thing is. I've seen it. As soon as I support somebody, they destroy them. Because they're mad because I could actually pick a winner. Right. They obsess over me. And they've obsessed over me for decades. I mean, I don't know anything for concreteness, but I suspected based upon what I've seen happen before. Worst thing I could ever do was support Ted Cruz. As soon as I supported Ted Cruz, they knocked him out. Right. Or began knocking him out. So again, you're being played by deep state people around you, and they may be your best supporter. Again, that's what spycraft is. Now, I don't think it's Lutnick. I don't think he's... I mean, he may have did some wrong things, but I don't think he's part of the deception. Right. So Lutnick and Basant, is that his name? Look this guy's name up. Probably at his head. Just, the MAGA patriot thing, but a little bit different. So we reach out to the business community. We reach out to the wholesalers, the manufacturers, and we give them the pep talk. But again, we, or the administration, has to provide the playing field where they can still be successful. And I think that's happening. There's a little bit, again, Saudi Arabia wants to invest and wants to help, but, Trump's already offended them a couple of times, so I don't know what, I don't know where MBS is. I could try to connect. I did connect them. I was communicating with Saudi Arabia, and hopefully they saw my stuff. I don't know if they did. And United Arab Emirates, because they were inside. Right. So they represent. Well, I have sympathies for how they feel about what happened to the children. I just do. And I think that's where they really are with it. I mean, because MBS could be a rough character, and right at a certain stage of the game, it became too much, way too much. Right. So again, Trump's yelling at somebody who's going to invest $6 billion or whatever it is. And he also wants them to drop the price of oil. So again, but again, he might do a cost benefit analysis and say, fine. Right. See, and that's what they do in my life. They'll skew the cost benefit analysis for everybody else so that they won't help me. I mean, Saudi Arabia owes me money. I gave them tons of plans. Now, my fear is that somebody like Elon's been hiding me and taking my information and giving it to Saudi Arabia and saying it's his information. Or somebody in the CIA. It doesn't have to be Elon. I was advising Saudi on what to do to make money if they were to go to electric vehicles, that kind of. I was telling them to diversify. Right. And then the big thing is, I said, even though you're all in the desert, if you can do agriculture, explain, the hydro part of agriculture, kibbutz and all that type of thing. Right. But then when you start growing your own food, and I think they did. I think they did everything I said. Now the question is how they got the information. They didn't know it was mine. Right. I think they said they're starting to do more agriculture. Well, it's just, the strength was the coalition to get elected. Don't throw it away. Don't throw that concept away. Again, I'm a big coalition person. It's a Desert Storm. I mean, the reason we were able to repel Iran is a coalition. Don't get it in your mind that, Israel has a wonderful Iron Dome because it failed. Now, again, their scientists and techies are working on a patch, I'm sure, or a better sensor or whatever it is, or maybe all of the above. Now that's why Iran did it. They said they figured something out on how to defeat the Iron Dome, but they couldn't replicate it because the United States patched it with a bunch of other stuff. That's why they tried it. It seemed like useless, right? But they had a strategy that confused the Iron Dome a little bit. But again, we had aircraft carriers and guided missile fragments and planes up in the air, you know. Right. And Biden didn't publicize it because he was trying to get the Arabic vote back. Right. And I think there's Saudi Arabia. I think some stuff came out of Saudi Arabia also. We had, missile launchers over there. I think they had a line of Patriots or something like that. We placed those years ago, I think. I think the first administration we put the Patriots in or something there. I don't know if they used them or not, but. Well, being able to deport all the excess might allow DACA to finally move forward to some sort of fruition, and Trump hinted towards that. I was paying attention, Trump. So again, the idea of cooperating, the Democrats are at least saying where we can cooperate, we're going to cooperate. Let's see if that happens. Well, the nation, again, what you're all doing to fight one another and whoop the people up to fight, and Trump does that too, it's causing problems for little people. They can't keep going through that. And that's kind of why they put Biden out, because they were sick of that energy. They may not know exactly why they did it. Yeah, if the Democrats were okay, they'd have paid me. They owed me. I did work under all the Democratic presidents. I helped the Biden until the point that he wouldn't control the deep state and was destroying my health and my life. Or Obama, I mean. And I did help Biden. If Biden would have listened to me, he may have made it. He had to start to move earlier. He had to reduce the price of oil earlier, which would have offset inflation earlier. Because again, that's a trick that presidents learn. They sit around for a little while, and then far enough away from the election where they think they can change the mind of the people by election. So again, it was like 2021 he had to start. I told him, go to Venezuela and make a deal and just pump 24/7. And that's open to Trump. You talk about Saudi Arabia increasing production. Go down there, tell Maduro, look, we'll make a deal. We'll figure it out. Maduro will move forward if you do something real, but he ain't going to sit there and have an election and you tell him to walk off. He ain't going to walk off. He's got to trust you first. So you see, that's how it would work. In 2021, you go down there and you make him and his country insanely wealthy by pumping 24/7. And meanwhile, you'll have your own people down there. Right? And they'll get to know the Venezuelans. The Venezuelans will get to know them, and they might have differences. Still have those same differences as far as what they believe government should be, what they believe anything should be. And sometimes they'll scumbag my plan, like make it not work on purpose to try to discredit me. That was one of my plans. But the idea is, if you had gone down there in 2021 and you just said, look, I got a massive deal for you, and then start lifting the sanctions a little bit, or you could just say, look, I'll guarantee your retirement, I'll guarantee your protection, and I'll lift these sanctions. But you have, at a certain point, you have to walk off and let some new people take over. So again, you have to do it a certain way. You can't be untrustable and then try it. Well, because he has to trust that you're going to take care of his retirement. He doesn't trust you because you haven't done anything yet for him. Right? But if you went down there and just started pumping 24/7, right, and have your people on scene talking to him and his people, it probably would have worked. But there's no reason to do it. Do you understand that? There's no reason for this battle to continue, this stalemate. Time is money, money is time. We need oil. He's got oil. That's simple. So don't waste time. Make some deal. Start drilling and pumping in Venezuela. Nah, there's more. You can pump more than what you're pumping. So again, you don't have, and again, I'm not writing Saudi Arabia out either. Maybe Saudi Arabia will do a little bit. Was it Citgo down there or something? Or Getty, what is it? Or both. And they'll do a little. Everybody increase their production a little. And if you finally go meet Putin, he might do it too. But you got to meet him. He's waiting on you. Again, I don't know why you didn't meet him. I know why you didn't meet him. I do know why. You were made paranoid over it. But you should have met him in that first administration. And then that may have been enough for him to relax. Because again, you diss him all the time. He's like the redheaded stepchild. You're isolating Putin and his nation. So again, some people are just still angry from whatever happened in the past. I mean, people died. Okay, in Ukraine, there are spies that may have been killed by Putin's people. So the spies can't get over that. So they don't want Putin to ever be out of the shit, like they do to me. They don't want me to be out of the shit I'm in. So I kind of sympathize with Putin a little bit. I do believe spies have altered him in a hope to make him make a mistake and to be more aggressive. Well, you're not going to have peace without dealing with Putin. You're not going to do anything in North Korea without dealing with Kim. I mean, there is a reality. I mean, as far as regime changes and our intelligence people go, I mean, it's overrated. They haven't really done too much and too well. No, there's nothing. Again, when we look at the president, I don't know how the conversations went, but when we look at the president of Colombia, he don't know any better. He don't know that's how they're transported. It's the first time he saw it. And again, he heard Lula complain. Oh yeah, Lula's complaining about it. I'll complain about it. So again, it's like the bishop. They're not cops. For all I know, that's what happened. The president of Colombia met with his people, or his people met with him and called him or whatever it was, saying, look, we have to transport them that way. It's not safe to do it any other way. So then to him, it didn't make no sense to fly to God. That's what I think happened, probably. It's just people act funny on deportation. I mean, some people are fine, but some people lose it. When you see, like, I looked at a quick video this morning, and the woman on the border, I think she's in the news all the time, and she's crying because they turned off the one app or whatever it was. So again, people are desperate. And again, but it's a psychosis to worship that thing. And they do have it bad to them. So again, it's Satan that's doing this because it got out of control. We can't help them in their home nations as much as we could. But again, Trump's about to help in Mexico a little bit there. I think he articulated something recently. Have to move some people down to the border first. So we need spec ops down there, and they need to start doing their assessments. So again, maybe they don't know. What's his name? What was that guy's name? I'm kind of like him, but I never had a real life, so I'm not really him. But he did mess up on the one thing. There's a special forces guy. There's Beckwith and there's someone else. Can't remember the other guy's name. So we have people in special forces. They just go down there and they'll be like me, but even more capable because they have more access to things. And again, I have a certain part of it that they don't have, but they can fudge it. But they can go down there, and again, Border Patrol might have several of these people. We got to find them, and what they got to do is they got to be watching the operation. They got to have freedom, and they have to have like a helicopter, at least one, and they have to move up and down that border. And again, the Border Patrol knows certain danger areas and things, but we need these guys so you need to get somebody from the Border Patrol that knows the border. And or a couple of them, and you marry them up with special forces, Green Berets. Well, we want the Green Berets in there for several reasons, because this is a lot of it, that's their forte. Special ops is special ops, but these people are trainers. They learned how to train people, how to train indigenous people. Again, indigenous people can be anybody. You see me use indigenous people technology on everybody, on the police department, on my neighbor, on the cartel trying to kill me. It's their insurgents. That technology works. And they also, they do design, if I'm correctly, some of them do design or have learned to design fire bases. Because again, anytime you need to set up an insurgent force, you also need to learn how to set up fortifications. So somebody with a lot of experience can go down there and you can describe the problems that you see, and then they can look to see if they see any other problems. Well, we need to shore up the border, because if we ever go into Mexico, we're going to need to make the border secure, like really secure. And you don't send. I believe we're going to need armor on the border. How many, I can't tell you. These people have to tell you. This is the thing. You're going to develop your plans. Again, I put something, the liberation of Mexico, but it would be something like that, but a little different, and different levels. What you think you need, or what they think you need. I believe you need armor on the border before you would do any type of armed military action in Mexico. You need armor on the border, and you need spec ops. When you need spec ops in a helicopter, kind of a Little Bird concept, but I think Little Bird's too small. I like the Lakota. I don't know what else is available. So a team of at least 4 people per helicopter, maybe 6. I don't know. Could have augmentees. Could have 4 spec ops and a couple border patrol, or whatever it is you want. All right, so you need patrols by those, and then you got to figure out what the density. The density will be based upon some calculation, and it might be a physical. It could be a feeling versus a. Right. But they'll come up with a standard for you as to what density of armor, what density of spec op patrol they would recommend before going into Mexico. And of course, that will also help the operational posture that's going on down there, because they can look at it and say, hey, you're doing that this way, you need to do it that way. Again, I know, because I can hear you've got people in the Border Patrol that have capability. We still need some of these guys. I don't know who they are. SOCOM knows who they are. Maybe gals, I don't know. Again, I'm from the old Army. I do believe in women in the military and all that, but I say get guys and get gals. And I wish there were women in our unit. We all did, I guess, right? So we went over to Egypt. There's like 4 women, right? And Tony Gaines from Texas, handsome guy, womanizer. Of course, he gets a girlfriend, right? Of all 4 women, they're available, right? Tony Gaines has a girlfriend while we're over there. That's the way it used to be. Yeah, hang on. Or Herbie one, and it was FedEx that stopped by. I don't know if you heard me. I had my volume down on one of the controls. So we need to ensure that we get these people down there as soon as possible. Again, we want, the Border Patrol has connected to my mind. I don't know if they read my stuff or heard me in their mind, or both. And they have people that can train all the things that I'm looking at, and there's no problem with that. Again, we're talking about officer survival, officer safety, and we want people to know that it's serious business, right, on that border. Again, because MPs, 2 years in, may not have any clue, because we're getting further away from combat. So, our years of combat, you're going to find probably definitely E6 and above with combat experience. Maybe some E5s are still left. Maybe in the tail end as privates. So to replace that, we do officer survival, officer safety training, and it really is designed to freak you out. It's designed to freak you out so that your mind is in the game. It'll tune them up, and they'll look around and they'll see more than they would have saw without it. And that can be done by Border Patrol people, no problem. Well, the MPs are down there, so it's a little bit different posture than the engineers. Engineers could have that training too. I don't know if they're sappers or not. Actually, they're Marines. They're just saps. Now, I get a vibe that somebody's in SOCOM that should deploy to the border and help figure all this out. Yeah, I don't remember the guy's name. I see it in my head. Green Beret from NAM, I think. Bull Simmons, that's it, Bull Simmons. So we got people supposedly around like Bull Simmons. And I'd have been like Bull Simmons if they didn't do my life like that. Obviously. Thank you, Larry. So apparently SOCOM has some or at least a couple people like Bull Simmons. And we put them down there and they can help strategize. Again, it's a combined arms, more than the combined arms, law enforcement and military going to put their heads together and really secure that border. So we're going to increase the physical obstacle belt. It's not always going to be that fence if we have to do something different. We have other things we can build. The hasty that we have to do real quick, put a bulldozer in there. Make it difficult for them to get up out of a gully or something like that, and make it more difficult. I mean, they still can come up out of it, but we slow them down enough for the response team. Again, remember the concept that I designed before, or tried to design, and again, it takes a lot of money to build a sufficient response team. Was that a lot of the helicopter, the air mobile response team, and the key was to slow them down enough. Again, military concept, slow them down enough to give the team time enough to respond. Now, I put a patch in that, and I was, saying get these drones down the border, get these drones into our city, like real drones, full-size drones, or at least half-size at the smallest, because they're more stable in inclement weather and other such things. So, in the absence of being able to respond in time, we have to have something to be able to follow them. Now, we could build a system to follow them. There's other things I know that can follow them, like Elon has things that probably we could build into following them. You could have satellites to just follow them. Right. So we can pick them up like, a half hour, an hour later. And hopefully we don't lose them. My idea for the fence was actually a no man's land. So you have a fence, and this may be where it is someday, a no man's land and a fence. That works much better. And of course, Border Patrol is patrolling no man's land. Or no person's land. Thank you, sir. So again, we don't know for sure if we're going to have to take the cartel out in Mexico, but they just can't keep going. This can't keep happening. It's every parent's nightmare. I mean, it could be a 30-year-old person, but that's somebody's kid. And they once were a kid, and we couldn't design a life of success for that person. I don't care if you don't take responsibility for other people, I do. That's why I'm who I am. As far as what I am says I am. Thank you, Larry. You show those. You should show those videos down there on the border. People on trank and all this other crap, and how they're just zombie people. That's part of firing them up. We need to stop that. We take responsibility for this nation, and we stop that. God, they pray to God about their child, and I'm part of that machine with God. I'm part of the heavenly host inside. So I don't always have present mind, but I have present feeling, and I shall make sure that I get enough of it so I understand how it works. Their child had a right to, like we see in El Salvador. Their child had a right to a clean community and to have a great life. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give them a great life, but we're still considering rehabilitation, which I like as far as what's happening down there, because it's not a one thing fits all, and that's where they were, and that was my concern. I was like, well, you got some good people in there, I'm sure. Who knows how far they're into anything? He's got a bunch of tattoos. You assume they killed somebody, assume they raped somebody, assume you don't know. And even if they did, maybe we can move out the other side. Again, I'm not telling them to let people go today and, just trust all of them. I'm not telling them that. And I wasn't telling them that. But it's very important to understand rehabilitation. Because if you get to the point to understand that was a kid that grew up in your country. That's a kid that grew up in this country. We had a responsibility to that kid to provide an environment where that kid grows up in a wholesome life and lives a wholesome life. That's the only way you're going to fix it. Make excuses like you do, you're not going to fix it. Getting fired up yet? Getting fired up yet? The greatest sergeant major it never was. Greatest CIA colonel it never was. So we got to get rid of these people that can allow people like me to live a life. They can't be jealous and angry and all that when I'm even helping them and I'm their slave. I mean, it was insane. But they were mad at my capabilities. I blame God. God's the one that gives me capability. So again, I have great, I have a greater, I'm more encouraged about the border today than I was last administration. Well, because I figured you'd all fail. You all don't know what it's supposed to do. Lackadaisical. Worthless slugs. Trump went through like boot camp. You see him at the end of the election? I thought he was going to fall over and die. But again, if you allowed my life to power up, Trump would have never been shot. You'd have figured it out. If you'd have helped me just have a normal life, I'd have been able to get past that vision and tell you that I saw a vision that Trump was going to be shot. I couldn't get online. I couldn't make it. I don't know if I turned later. I think I saw that I turned off my internet, or maybe they did. I don't know. And I was sick. It made me actually sick trying to post it. Like this darkness descended over me. And then I couldn't remember it the next day. So we need SOCOM to send us some capable people that care. Okay, capable people that care. Again, Major Gant would be a great person to be on the border. I don't know, can we sign a contract with him? We take Major Gant down to the border. So, one tribe at a time does work for what we're doing, but what you do is it happens from their nation of origin. We don't leave anybody behind. We bring all these people forward in their country, in their nation of origin. Again, El Salvador is a great example. It needs adjustment because, it's never okay to just stagnate and give up. I believe in boot camp, jail cells, or boot camp, prison, and jail every day. But you have to find people that can run it, people that won't abuse kids. That's where it went wrong. I got so mad. They abused the kids and they shut it down. They're all deep state on power trips. Right. So again, the final answer may be something a little bit less. They still have those facilities. They could turn them into boot camps. Just military. Again, Ecuador is using the boot camp concept. Right. Again, they each have a little bit different. But again, like I said, El Salvador is changing a little bit. They're moving. You can get out of if I don't know what their criteria is, but you can get out of that situation and move to a place of rehabilitation, and that'll help them. Again, you have a lot of construction projects coming up. If you can get those people straight enough to do some construction projects, doesn't matter if they're incarcerated. Right. Just that's good for their soul to get them forward. Gives them faith in themselves. Hey, you were never supposed to be a criminal. You're supposed to be a carpenter. You're supposed to be a mason. Again, Trump can't get so greedy that we can't fix the world. You got to be careful of that one. Trump is like, you America first. That's it. No, we can't be America. Because it didn't always, to make America first, sometimes we have to go other places and take care of other communities. Again, MBS is trying to make Saudi Arabia first, so he gave us $6 billion. He's outdoing Elon Musk. Wait, if Elon in there, maybe I'd get in there with $6 billion. Well, I think, there's a lot of influence around Trump. I'm not just talking about Elon. And I think he's his own person, but you have to have somebody around him that can explain things from a different perspective. Because like I said, somebody needed to tell him, look, this woman, this bishop, people in law, because he's now in law enforcement. He's running all these law enforcement programs. We run into people like that all day. We even arrest people like that because they go over the edge, like the woman, the nun that threw the blood on the nuclear site or something. So they just lose it. So he doesn't have that experience. That this is just part of being a cop. Oh, because again, I tell you something. I'll tell you until I see Trump react. We have a valid mission. We don't have to yell at her for trying to doubt our mission. All Trump needs to do is, and he did this the first administration, I think, a little better. And he's stressed out. I know that. Well, they tried to give him PTSD and panic attacks. That's what they did to me. Spent years trying to do that. Decades. It worked to a certain degree. When I got out of government, I found out they were telling everybody I had PTSD from the war. I said, no, I don't. This is from what the government's doing to me right now. Has nothing to do with the war. I came out of war, I was a happy person. It was all sapper success. So what Trump needs to do is just reassert what we're doing to reduce the number of migrants here. They're not supposed to be here. Why? Because it makes it dangerous for everybody. Makes it dangerous for people in the United States that are citizens. It makes it dangerous for migrants because it's uncontrollable. It's out of control. Once we reduce the numbers, we'll be able to help everyone, and we'll figure it out. I mean, reduce the numbers is probably a lot. We have to reduce it a lot, and that's why he asked for those bigger task forces. As far as LGBTQ and all those type of things, well, I don't agree with everything he's doing, but basically he wants to make sure people aren't taken advantage of when it comes to what she spoke about. And I know they're being taken advantage of. I can see it. I do a lot of research in that area. And I try to connect to people I see and when I research. And I have discussions with them. If I can, and again, sometimes it's real, sometimes it's adulterated. I try to assess the best I can. So people can sexually get aroused over situations that aren't sexual. So again, if you sexualize a child into trans, and even though it's not sexual, evil things will give you sexual pleasure. And again, I'm not saying the whole thing's a lie. I'm not saying that at all. But at the numbers we're seeing it, and based upon what I'm seeing, I believe there's manipulation. Munchausen by proxy, willpower being used to turn a child into trans, peer pressure, spells, incantations. I actually went through something in the mind where Satan was trying to get me to do that, and God said, just listen, because you can't even do it if you uttered it. But yeah, collecting intelligence of what people are receiving in their mind from Satan to do certain things, to alter somebody's sexuality, to will it up in the direction that they are being told or they desire. That's how I know what they did to me, by listening to what they wanted me to do someone else. Now I already made parameters. I can't change anybody. I could just go healed, and hopefully Hashem heals it. That was the biggest thing I figured out after. It actually came about because, again, you see how God's grace was more abounding in that incident. When it was all said and done, I asked God what happened. God said, they cursed you. Cursed me? What's that? I thought curse was just like you say a word, Believe me, I was asleep. Thank you, Larry. And God explained it to me. So God said, well, I did a study on it, and God said that people in the Bible are cursing other people and all these different things going on. So I tried. Like I said, I feared fear. There's nothing fear to fear itself. I'll fear fear. So essentially, whatever's trying to fear you will experience fear. That lasted about maybe an hour or two. I'm like, yeah, God, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't want to curse things. And God's like, have it your way. Until a certain point, God said, that's it. We got to curse him. I don't know what this is and how to open this. What am I looking at here? Oh, I see. That was like 2004 or something. That's just a general date. So yeah, I'm going to get working here, I guess. But make sure, I'll be on shortly. I'm just going to probably plug this in to charge it. Make sure we get people down to the border that are capable enough to to look around with the Border Patrol. Again, it's not only for a Border Patrol mission, it's also for a spec op missions down the road. So again, we used to call them target folders. You know, you're going to create what I call defensive folders. And again, if there needs to be a passage of lines, whether it be armor or just personnel, you can discover what locations are best for that. Again, maybe we could say, maybe they'll come up with the fact that the best place is, it can't be the only place, right? But of course, obviously, the points of entry would be great, passage of lines points. But, you know, there's sections of the border, you know, where they could, you know, recommend certain passage of line points. You know, there might be some high ground that can overwatch, like we did in Desert Storm in Western Iraq or Midwestern Iraq. I don't remember. We came in from Saudi Arabia, and we were up on some the M1s were up on a high ground. We were down on the low ground underneath the M1s. So and people did passage of lines at that point. So if you can develop something like that, where we will be able to provide overwatch for the passage of lines. Well, we don't know what we're going to run into. So once we start actively, if and when we start actively moving against the cartels with military action, the response can be a variety of things. And based upon that response, the president might order a little bit more. We need to be prepared to move that little bit more. We got to know where we're going to go in, where we're going to place things. And then, of course, we'd have to put a defensive line on the border, and then we'd have to do passage of line in several locations. Again, where would the armor, what would be the best location for armor, for personnel, maybe both. We really want our teams to enter if they're going to do, well, again, we don't know what it's going to become. So that's why I recommend putting them down there so they can try to figure out what it could, you know, what scenarios could arise, and then based upon those scenarios, what they could do on a border. We need to keep our cities and our people safe. Again, once we deport a lot of these people, it'll be safer right away. Again, cartels have that plan. You're going to have to get everybody out of here that you would think would effectuate that plan. And they do it in the cities in Mexico. If they feel threatened, they might do it up here. It's just the government of Mexico, you know, we tried, right? We tried. That's all I can say. Well, I don't think they're honestly interested in changing the fentanyl heroin paradigm. Good money, or happy with it. Honestly. Again, so we're going to have to force that. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, okay.